Chapter 9, Dork in Disguise. "Did you see me fly down that hill?" Jerry asked. He was sitting on the floor in his parents' bedroom talking on the phone. Sassy's head rested on his leg. "I thought you were dead for sure," Brenda said. "I looked for you after it was over, after you smashed into the tree. I waited long enough to see you move. I knew you were alive, so I left. Besides, you were surrounded by all those kids." Jerry laughed. "You should see my eye. It's getting black and blue, a real shiner." "Hey, thanks a lot, Bren. You helped me get in with those kids. You know, the jeans ripping, and the strut lessons, and everything. I just hope I can keep up with the disguise. It's getting harder and harder." He reached over to scratch Sassy, and he winced. "Not to mention painful." "Yeah, I bet," she said. "Oh, by the way, Mr. Hooten talked to me about the science team after school. That's why I was late. And he said he asked you too. Are you going to join?" "I don't think so," Jerry said. "I'm in with these kids now, and I don't want to mess it up." "But you like science so much," Brenda said. "I know," Jerry said. "I wish I could do it, but if Cinnamon and Gabe found out, I'd have to work that much harder to convince them I'm cool. This is hard enough work as it is." "If you say so." "I'll see you tomorrow," Jerry said. "See you." Jerry hung up and went back to his bedroom, where the pieces of his hovercraft lay. The vacuum cleaner motor, the large round board with a hole in the middle, a large sheet of plastic duct tape, and a box of utility staples. "This is going to be so cool," Jerry murmured, settling down on the floor. The phone rang, and a moment later Mrs. Flack called from downstairs. "Jerry, telephone, it's for you again." He ran back to his parents' bedroom. "Hello?" "Jerry, hi Jerry, this is Cinnamon." Jerry's stomach performed an impressive triple somersault. "Hi. I just wanted to call and see how you were doing," she said. Jerry was suddenly fantastic, sensational, and ecstatic, but what he answered was fine. He was playing it cool. "You really hit that tree hard." "I can take it." "I know," Cinnamon said. "You were very brave to rollerblade down that hill." "Well," he said in his most modest voice, "I've skated down hills steeper than that." "Wow." There was applause. "Jerry, do you know about the fall carnival at the high school?" "A fall carnival?" "Yeah, it's a couple of weeks, and it's really fun. They have it every year. There are games and cotton candy and stuff. There's a dance, too, with a live band." "Sounds great," Jerry said. "All the kids are going. You know, Robin, Gabe, Craig, Tony." "Cool. So, you want to come with us?" Cinnamon asked. "It's the biggest thing of the fall." "Sure." "So, what's with you and Brenda McAdams?" "What do you mean?" "Well, I've seen you talking with her, and don't you eat lunch with her?" "Yeah," Jerry said. Don't you like Brenda?" "Oh, she's nice," Cinnamon answered. "But, well, she's just not cool, you know. I mean, she's so smart and kind of shows off her brains a lot." "She shows off her brains?" "Yeah, you know, she always has her hand in the air to answer teachers' questions, and she uses really big words." "I guess I hadn't noticed." "Like the other day," Cinnamon said, "when we were talking about the story in language arts, she said the character expired. I don't even know what that meant until I figured out it meant that he died." Jerry laughed. He thought it was funny and kind of cute that she didn't know what expired meant. "I mean," Cinnamon said, "why couldn't she just say the guy died? For Pete's sake." "Or passed away," Jerry said. "Or croaked," Cinnamon giggled. "Or kicked the bucket. Or bought the farm." "I like that one," Cinnamon said. "Bought the farm. That sounds like something Gabe would say." Jerry didn't want to talk about Gabe. Did you know that Gabe skipped school today?" Cinnamon asked. "Yeah," Jerry said. "I wonder if any of the teachers saw him after school." "Probably not," Cinnamon said. "He says he never gets caught." There was a pause. "He has dreamy hair." "He does?" "Yeah." And she giggled, "He's so sexy." Jerry didn't know what to say. He said, "Oh, well, my mom's calling me," Cinnamon said. "She probably wants me to help fix dinner." She sighed heavily. "What a pain. I hate cooking." "Me too, actually." Jerry liked cooking, but it wouldn't be cool to admit it. "I'll see you tomorrow at school," Cinnamon said. "Oh, and Jerry?" "Yes?" He straightened up. "Are you going to play your guitar tonight? Or write any songs?" "I don't know," Jerry said. "You think I should write a song?" "If you want to. Do I give you aspiration?" "Aspiration?" She laughed. "There I go, using big words like Brenda. You know, do I make you want to write songs?" "Oh, sure," Jerry said. "You really give me aspiration." Cinnamon giggled. "Good. See you tomorrow." "Bye." Jerry hung up the phone. Adrenaline was still streaking through his body. He couldn't believe that Cinnamon O'Brien had actually called him on the phone. Except for the part about Gabe being sexy. The conversation had been a good one. So, what if she said aspiration instead of inspiration, and didn't know what expire meant? It wasn't a big deal that she didn't have much of a vocabulary. She wanted him to go to the carnival. She wanted him to write a song for her, too. That was obvious. He couldn't read a note of music, but maybe he could write a poem, after all. That's what songs are. Poems set to music. He went to his room, walked past the hovercraft materials on the floor, and sat at his desk to start working on a song for Cinnamon. "Does it hurt a lot?" Mrs. Flack asked at dinner. "Not much," Jerry said, touching his black eye. "Looks like you were hit pretty hard," Mr. Flack said. "Have some potatoes, Jerry," Mrs. Flack said. "You say you ran into a tree?" "Mm-hmm." Jerry didn't want to talk about it. He took the bowl from his mother. "Did you ever find the paper today, Claire?" Mr. Flack asked. Mr. Flack asked, sawing at his baked chicken. "Eventually," she said, rolling her eyes. "I'm giving Angie Lennox one more chance. If she doesn't throw the newspaper on the porch or somewhere in the plain sight tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to call her supervisor." "I think we should train Sassy to find it and put it on the porch," Jerry said. "That might be easier in the long run." Mr. Flack stopped eating, and Mrs. Flack's eyes opened wide. "Are you kidding?" "I thought Sassy was untrainable," Mrs. Flack said. "She's always up to something. Remember when she collected one shoe from every pair of shoes in the house and she piled them in the middle of the living room?" "She could learn to bring the paper," Jerry said. "I've been reading about positive reinforcement in the training of laboratory rats." "Sassy's not a rat," Melissa cried. "Well, start after supper," Jerry said. "Do you have a newspaper I can use?" "Sure," his mother answered, but don't get your hopes up. She'll learn," Jerry said. "This'll be fun," Melissa said. "I just hope it works," said Mrs. Flax. After supper, Jerry and Melissa began Sassy's training. "Okay, Sassy," Jerry said. "Bring the paper." "Bring it here, Sassy," Melissa said, sitting on the front step. "We should always use the same words so she won't be confused," Jerry said. "Let's say, bring the paper." "Bring the paper, Sassy." Jerry had dropped the paper, folded with the rubber band around it, by the evergreens under the front windows. Now he tugged on Sassy's leash and led her to the paper. He squatted down in front of her, pried her mouth open, and gently slid the paper between her teeth. "Bring the paper, Sassy," Jerry said. He led her up the steps of the front door and took the paper from her mouth. "Good girl," Jerry said. "Here's your positive reinforcement." He petted her, then took a doggy treat out of his pocket and gave it to her. Sassy devoured it on the spot. After the treat was gone, Sassy looked up at Jerry, swinging her tail back and forth. "She wants to do it again," Melissa said. "Okay," Jerry said. Melissa put the paper in a different place. Melissa ran and dropped the paper on the other side of the sidewalk. Jerry and Melissa practiced with Sassy for an hour. During the last 15 minutes, Melissa hid the paper under the shrubbery, and Jerry and Sassy had to look for it. "Think she's catching on?" Melissa asked. "Maybe," Jerry said, "but it'll be a while before she'll do it on her own." He patted Sassy's head. "I've got some important business to do now." "What's that?" "I'm writing a song," Melissa brained. "Can I help you write it?" "No," Jerry said. "This special song for a special person." "Yeah, so I have to write it myself. You don't know anything about songwriting." "Neither do you," Melissa said. Jerry sighed. "I'm not letting a dumb 6-year-old mess up my song, okay?" Melissa scowled and ran into the house. "Mom, Jerry called me dumb." Jerry shook his head. Sometimes it was hard for a cool 6th grader to put up with such immaturity. He went inside and up to his room to work on the song that he hoped might possibly win Cinnamon's heart.